The stars looked different today. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Earth vessel Unity, watching the massive alien ship appear in the distance. It was huge, maybe 10 times bigger than their own ship. The alien vessel had smooth curves and glowing lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. It looked nothing like the rough metal ships humans built. "Sir, they're sending a message," said Lieutenant Dan Kelly from his station. His fingers moved quickly over the controls. "It's coming through on multiple frequencies." Jake nodded. "Put it through." The main screen flickered to life. A tall, thin creature appeared. Its skin was pale blue, and it had 4 arms instead of 2. Large, black eyes stared out from an oval head. When it spoke, the words came through their translation system in perfect English. "Greetings, inhabitants of the third planet. I am Captain Zexthul of the Galactic Confederation vessel Harmony's Edge. We come in peace to welcome you into our alliance of civilized worlds." Dr. Lisa Carter stepped forward. She was the lead scientist on the mission and had spent years preparing for this moment. "This is Dr. Lisa Carter representing Earth. We're honored to meet you, Captain Zexthul." The alien captain tilted his head, which seemed to be their way of showing curiosity. "Your species has achieved faster-than-light travel remarkably quickly. Our records show you discovered fire only a few thousand of your years ago. Most impressive for such a young race." Jake and Lisa exchanged glances. The aliens had been watching them for a while, it seemed. Lisa smiled politely. "We've always been fast learners." "Indeed," Captain Zexthul said. "This is why the Confederation wishes to help you. We have a standard process for integrating new species. First, we provide technological upgrades to bring you up to galactic standards. Then we assign advisors to help govern your world properly. Finally, you join our peaceful alliance." Commander Ben Hughes, who stood beside Jake, cleared his throat. "That's very generous, but we prefer to develop at our own pace." The aliens' 4 eyes blinked in sequence, which their cultural briefings had told them meant confusion. "But surely you understand the benefits of our guidance? We have been spacefaring for over 50,000 of your years. Our technology is far beyond yours." Dr. Amy Peterson, the team's physicist, spoke up from her position near the science station. "We're always interested in learning about different approaches to technology. Could you show us some examples?" Captain Zexthul seemed pleased by this request. "Of course. Perhaps you would like to visit our ship. We can demonstrate our most advanced systems." An hour later, a small group of humans floated through the alien ship's docking bay. The artificial gravity felt strange, lighter than Earth normal. Everything around them hummed with energy. The walls seemed to be made of some kind of living metal that shifted and moved. "This is our main laboratory," Captain Zexthul explained, as they entered a large room filled with floating screens and complex machines. "Here we can manipulate matter at the molecular level." He gestured to one of his crew members, a shorter alien with green skin and 6 arms. "Technician Vraleth, please demonstrate our matter reorganization system." The technician placed a chunk of rough metal on a platform. Lights began to dance around it, and slowly the metal changed shape. It became smooth, then curved, then transformed into what looked like a perfect sphere. The humans watched with interest. Captain Rick Sullivan, their chief engineer, stepped closer. "Interesting. You're using focused energy beams to excite the molecular bonds. The frequency modulation is quite clever." Technician Vraleth looked surprised. "You understand the principles?" "The basic concept, yes," Rick said. "Though I'm curious about the power efficiency. It looks like you're losing about 60% of your input energy as waste heat." The aliens exchanged looks. Captain Zexthul cleared his throat. "Perhaps you would like to see our defensive systems." They moved to another part of the ship. Here, the walls were lined with what looked like crystal formations. Energy flowed through them in patterns that hurt to look at directly. "These are our shield generators," Captain Zexthul explained with obvious pride. "They can protect our ship from any known weapon. The energy barriers can stop both physical projectiles and energy attacks." Dr. Sam Rodriguez, the team's technology specialist, examined the crystals closely. The harmonic resonance is fascinating. You're creating intersecting energy fields that reinforce each other. Very elegant. You seem to grasp our technology quite easily, observed another alien crew member, this one with red skin and tentacles instead of arms. This is unusual for a species at your development level. Dr. Carter smiled. We've always been good at understanding how things work. The tour continued for another hour. The aliens showed them their faster-than-light drive, their communication systems, and their medical technology. Each time, the humans asked technical questions that seemed to make the aliens more and more uncomfortable. Finally, they returned to the main meeting room. Captain Zexthul looked troubled. Your questions suggest a deeper understanding than we expected. How is this possible? Jake leaned back in his chair. Different species think about problems in different ways, I suppose. We've been working on similar concepts, though we've barely scratched the surface of what's possible. Barely scratched the surface? Captain Zexthul repeated. But you have achieved interstellar travel. Surely you have explored the limits of your technology. Not really, Dr. Peterson said casually. Most of our research focuses on other areas. Space travel is just one small part of what we study. The alien captain's forearms moved in what their briefings had identified as a gesture of deep confusion. Other areas. What could be more important than mastering the technologies needed for galactic civilization? Oh, lots of things, Lisa said. Physics, biology, consciousness studies, temporal mechanics, reality manipulation, the usual subjects. The room fell silent. The aliens stared at the humans with expressions that needed no translation. Finally, Captain Zexthul spoke in a voice that was much quieter than before. Did you say reality manipulation? Among other things, yes, Dr. Carter replied. Though, like I said, we're still learning. There's so much we don't understand yet. Lieutenant, Kelly's voice came through Jake's communicator. Admiral, we're getting some strange readings from their ship. Their power systems just spiked and they're scanning us with some kind of deep probe. Jake tapped his communicator. Understood. Keep monitoring. Captain Zexthul had been listening to his own crew through a device attached to his head. My technicians report that your ship's construction is unusual. The materials appear primitive, yet our sensors cannot penetrate your hull. Earth metals can be tricky, Rick said with a shrug. We've learned to work with what we have. But the energy signatures we detect don't match any known technology, pressed Technician Vralith. How do you achieve faster-than-light travel with such basic materials? The humans looked at each other. Ben Hughes spoke first. We have our methods. They work for us. This is most irregular, Captain Zexthul said, his voice taking on a more formal tone. The Confederation requires full technological disclosure from all potential member species. How can we help you advance if we don't understand your current capabilities? Jake stood up slowly. Captain, we appreciate your offer of help, but as Commander Hughes said, we prefer to develop on our own timeline. We're not ready to join any Galactic Confederation yet. The alien captain's skin color shifted to a darker blue, which their briefings had warned might indicate anger or frustration. This is unprecedented. No species has ever refused Confederation guidance. Perhaps you don't understand the benefits we offer. We understand, Lisa said gently, but we're simply not interested at this time. Not interested? Captain Zexthul's voice rose. We offer you technology that would advance your civilization by thousands of years. We offer protection from hostile species. We offer membership in the greatest alliance the galaxy has ever known. How can you not be interested? Dr. Peterson checked a small device on her wrist. I think we should probably head back to our ship soon. We have other appointments to keep. The aliens looked at each other with what was clearly growing alarm. Captain Zexthul made several quick gestures with his forearms and his crew began moving toward their stations. Perhaps, he said carefully, we should continue these discussions tomorrow. There seems to be much we need to understand about each other. Jake nodded. That sounds reasonable. Thank you for the tour, Captain. Your technology is very impressive. As the humans prepared to leave, they could hear the aliens speaking in their own language through their translation devices. The words that came through were troubling. Impossible, dangerous, and report to command appeared frequently in the conversation. The trip back to the Unity was quiet. Only when they were safely aboard their own ship did anyone speak. "Well," Jake said as they gathered in the briefing room, "that could have gone better." "They're scared," Lisa observed. "They came expecting to find another primitive species, and instead they found something they can't understand. The question is," Ben said, "what are they going to do about it?" 3 days had passed since the first meeting. Captain Zexthal stood in his private quarters staring at reports from his science team. None of it made sense. The human ship looked like it was built from basic metals and simple circuits, but their scanners could not get through its hull. Even worse, energy readings from inside the ship showed patterns they had never seen before. "Sir," came a voice from his communication device. "The humans have accepted our invitation for the demonstration." "Good," Zexthal replied, though he felt far from good about any of this. "Prepare the full display. I want them to see exactly what the Confederation can offer." 2 hours later, both ships hung in space near a small dead moon. The human delegation had come aboard the Harmony's Edge again. This time, Captain Zexthal had brought more of his senior staff. He wanted witnesses to whatever was about to happen. "Welcome back," he said as the humans entered the main observation deck. "Today we will show you our most advanced technologies. Perhaps this will help you understand the benefits of joining our alliance." Admiral Jake Morrison nodded politely. "We're always interested in learning new things." Dr. Amy Peterson pulled out a small device and began taking readings. "The energy levels in this room are quite high. You must have some powerful systems running." "Indeed we do," said Chief Science Officer Quektal, a tall alien with silver skin and multiple eyes arranged in a circle around her head. "Today you will see technology that took our civilization 10,000 years to develop." The first demonstration began. A section of the floor opened up, revealing a machine that hummed with barely contained energy. Lights danced across its surface in complex patterns. "This is our matter conversion system," Quektal explained. "Watch carefully." She placed a small rock on a platform inside the machine. The lights grew brighter and the humming became louder. Slowly, the rock began to change. First it became liquid, then gas, then pure energy, then reformed as a perfect metal cube. "Complete molecular restructuring," Quektal said proudly. "We can turn any substance into any other substance." The humans watched with interest. Dr. Sam Rodriguez stepped closer and examined the control panel. "The energy matrix is quite complex. You're breaking down matter at the quantum level and rebuilding it atom by atom." "That is correct," Quektal said, though she looked surprised. "How did you know that?" "The particle cascade pattern is pretty obvious once you understand the underlying physics," Sam replied, "though I notice you're losing a lot of energy in the conversion process. The quantum field alignment could be improved." Several aliens exchanged worried looks. Captain Zexthal cleared his throat. "Perhaps you would like to see our defensive capabilities?" They moved to another part of the ship. Here the walls were covered with screens showing the space around them. In the center of the room stood a massive console covered with controls and displays. "This is our tactical center," announced War Specialist Grixenall, a heavily built alien with thick arms and sharp teeth. "From here we can defend against any threat." He pressed several buttons. Outside, the space around the ship began to shimmer. A glowing barrier appeared, surrounding the entire vessel. "Our shield system," Grixenall said. "It can stop any weapon." Known to galactic science. Captain Rick Sullivan studied the energy readings on a nearby display. "Interesting approach. You're using intersecting force fields to create a multi-layered barrier. The power requirements must be enormous." "They are," Grixenall admitted. "But the protection is absolute." "Is it though?" Rick asked. "What happens if someone targets the field intersection points? The resonance frequency at those spots looks unstable." The war specialist's confident expression faded. "How could you possibly know about resonance frequencies? Your species has only just achieved space travel." "We read a lot," Dr. Lisa Carter said with a smile. The demonstrations continued. The aliens showed their communication systems that could send messages across the galaxy in seconds. The humans pointed out more efficient ways to encode the data. They displayed their medical technology that could heal any injury. The humans suggested improvements to the cellular regeneration process. With each demonstration, the aliens became more nervous and the humans became more curious. Finally, Captain Zexthul decided to show them something that would surely impress them. "Now," he announced, "you will see our most powerful technology, the weapon that ensures peace throughout our territory." They gathered in the weapons bay, a huge chamber filled with machinery that glowed with dangerous energy. At the center stood a massive cannon that pointed out through the ship's hull toward the dead moon nearby. "This is our planet-cracking laser," Zexthul said, his voice filled with pride and threat. "It can destroy entire worlds. No species has ever seen this weapon and continued to refuse our guidance." The aliens expected the humans to look afraid or at least impressed. Instead, Dr. Carter tilted her head and studied the weapon with scientific interest. "A focused particle beam system," she observed. "You're concentrating stellar energy through crystalline amplifiers. Very creative." "Creative?" Grixnall growled. "This weapon can crack planets in half." "Oh, I'm sure it can," Lisa agreed. "Though, the energy conversion efficiency is pretty low. You're only getting about 12% of your input energy focused into the beam. The rest is wasted as heat and radiation." 12%? Technician Vreleth checked his instruments frantically. "How did you calculate that so quickly?" "The thermal signature patterns are easy to read once you know what to look for," Dr. Peterson explained. "The crystalline matrix is creating interference in the energy flow. You could probably increase efficiency to around 40% by adjusting the harmonic resonance." The alien stared at her. Captain Zexthul felt something cold forming in his stomach. "You understand our most advanced weapon technology?" "The basic principles, yes," Amy replied. "Though I have to ask, why do you need such a big weapon? There are much more efficient ways to achieve the same result." "More efficient ways?" Zexthul's voice cracked slightly. "Sure," she said casually. "You could use quantum destabilization or gravitational collapse manipulation, or even just targeted molecular breakdown. Those methods would be cleaner and use much less energy." The silence in the weapons bay was complete. Every alien in the room stared at the small human woman who had just casually described weapons technology that was beyond anything they had ever dreamed of. Commander Ben Hughes noticed the expressions around them. "Is something wrong?" "Wrong," Captain Zexthul whispered. "You speak of technologies that sound like magic to us, and you ask if something is wrong?" Jake Morrison looked around at the frightened aliens. "Look, we're not trying to be difficult. We appreciate you showing us your technology. It's very impressive." "Impressive?" Quektul's voice shook. "You have just demonstrated that you understand our most advanced systems better than we do. You have suggested improvements that our greatest scientists never considered. You speak of weapons that could destroy us all as if they were simple tools." "We're just curious," Lisa said gently. "That's how humans learn. We ask questions and think about how things work." "But how do you know these things?" Zexthul demanded. "Your ship appears primitive. Your technology seems basic. Yet you understand concepts that took us millennia to discover." The humans looked at each other. Finally, Admiral Morrison spoke. "Captain, we told you yesterday that we've been working on similar concepts. We've barely scratched the surface of what's possible." "What do you mean by that?" Zexthul asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know the answer. Jake paused for a moment, as if choosing his words carefully. "We mean that the technology you've shown us today represents maybe 1% of what we consider theoretically possible. We're still learning, still exploring. There's so much more out there to discover." The color drained from Captain Zexthul's face. Around the room, other aliens began backing away from the humans as if they were dangerous animals. 1%? He whispered. "Maybe less," Dr. Rodriguez added helpfully. "The universe is a big place with lots of interesting physics to explore." Alarms suddenly began blaring throughout the ship. A voice came over the communication system speaking in the alien language. Through their translators, the humans heard, "Alert! Alert! Confederation command fleet approaching. Multiple heavy cruisers detected. Captain Zexthol activated his communicator. This is Zexthol. Why is command fleet here? The reply came back tense and worried. Sir, they received our reports about the humans. They're coming to investigate what they call a potential threat to Confederation security. Jake and his team exchanged glances. A threat? Jake asked. Sir, came another voice over the communication system. The command fleet is requesting immediate surrender of the human delegation for questioning. The tension in the room suddenly multiplied. The aliens looked terrified, but not of the approaching fleet. They were looking at the humans with expressions of growing panic. Captain, Admiral Morrison said quietly, I think we need to talk. The space around Earth's moon filled with ships. Not just a few ships, but hundreds of them. They appeared out of nowhere, dropping out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. Each ship was massive, bristling with weapons and glowing with the energy of advanced technology. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Unity, watching the alien fleet arrange itself in attack positions. His crew worked quietly at their stations, but he could feel the tension in the air. Sir, Lieutenant Dan Kelly reported, we're counting 312 ships. All of them are armed and their weapons are charging. Any word from Captain Zexthol? Jake asked. He's trying to contact the fleet commander, but they're not responding to him, Kelly replied. The lead ship is broadcasting on all frequencies. The main screen flickered to life. A new alien appeared, different from Captain Zexthol. This one was larger, with thick armor covering his body and scars across his face. His eyes glowed red, and when he spoke, his voice sounded like grinding metal. I am War Commander Kralvex of the Confederation Enforcement Fleet. Humans of the third planet, you will surrender immediately for questioning. Your technology and intentions must be examined by Confederation security. Jake stepped forward. This is Admiral Morrison of Earth. We are a peaceful species. There's no need for threats. Peaceful. Kralvex laughed, a harsh sound that hurt to hear. Our reports say you possess dangerous knowledge. You understand weapons technology that could threaten the entire galaxy. This cannot be allowed. Dr. Lisa Carter moved to stand beside Jake. Commander, there's been a misunderstanding. We're scientists and explorers, not warriors. Silence. The War Commander roared. You will not deceive us with false words. Captain, Zexthol has reported that you know of planet-killing weapons. You speak of technologies we have never seen. This makes you a threat that must be eliminated. On Earth below, emergency meetings were taking place in government buildings around the world. General Kate Williams sat in a secure bunker beneath the Pentagon, surrounded by screens showing the alien fleet above. Options? She asked the room full of military leaders and scientists. Colonel Tim Barnes pulled up tactical displays. They have us outnumbered and outgunned by conventional standards. If they attack, Earth's surface defenses won't hold them for long. Dr. Amy Peterson looked up from her tablet. Maybe it's time to drop the act. Drop what act? General Williams asked. The pretense that we're a primitive species, Amy replied. We've been playing this game for 50 years, pretending to be less advanced than we really are. Maybe it's time to show them what we can actually do. That would change everything, Colonel Barnes warned. Once we reveal our true capabilities, there's no going back. If we don't, Dr. Sam Rodriguez added, they're going to attack. Look at those ships. They're not here to negotiate. Back in space, War Commander Kralvex was losing patience. You have one of your hours to surrender your leadership and technology. If you refuse, we will demonstrate the price of defying the Confederation. Captain Zexthol finally managed to get a communication through to the War Commander. Kralvex, please reconsider. These humans may be more dangerous than we thought. Attacking them could be a mistake. Dangerous? Kralvex sneered. They have a few primitive ships and basic weapons. My fleet could destroy their entire planet in minutes. That's what I'm afraid of, Zexthol whispered, but the War Commander had already cut off the communication. On the Unity, Commander Ben Hughes was coordinating with Earth's leadership. Sir, I'm getting reports from the surface. The alien fleet is targeting major cities. They're preparing to attack civilian populations. Jake's expression hardened. How long until they fire? Maybe 30 minutes, Hughes replied. Dr. Carter checked a device on her wrist. Admiral, I really think we should consider revealing our hand. What hand? Jake asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. You know what hand, Lisa said quietly. The one we've been hiding for the past half-century. The one that makes their entire fleet look like toys. Lieutenant Kelly looked confused. What are you talking about? Jake sighed. He walked to his command chair and pressed several hidden buttons in a specific sequence. The bridge suddenly changed. New displays appeared, showing energy readings and weapon systems that had not been visible before. Lieutenant, Jake said, welcome to the real Unity. Kelly stared at the new displays in shock. Sir, these readings, this is impossible. We're showing power levels that are off the charts. Not impossible. Dr. Peterson's voice came through the communication system from Earth. Just hidden. We've been using maybe 1% of our actual technology for decades. In space, War Commander Kralvex was growing impatient. Time is running. Out, humans. Surrender now or face the consequences. Jake opened a channel to the alien fleet. War Commander, I'm going to give you one chance to stand down. Leave our system immediately and no one gets hurt. The alien's laughter filled the communication channel. You threaten me? You and your handful of primitive ships threaten a Confederation fleet? I'm not threatening you, Jake replied calmly. I'm warning you. The difference being, a threat is something you might do, Dr. Carter said, stepping into view of the communication screen. A warning is something you definitely will do if someone doesn't listen. Kralvex studied the human woman. Something in her voice made him pause. What are you warning me about? Stand down your weapons and leave our system, Lisa repeated. Or you will force us to respond with more than our current 1% power allocation. The war commander stared at her for a moment, then burst into laughter again. 1%? You think this is amusing? My fleet has enough firepower to crack planets, and you speak of 1%? Actually, Dr. Rodriguez said from his station, it's closer to 0.7%, but we round it up for simplicity. Kralvex's laughter died away. Something in the human's calm certainty was starting to worry him, though he refused to admit it. You have 10 minutes, he announced. Then I will demonstrate what real power looks like. The communication cut off. On the Unity's bridge, the crew worked quickly to prepare for what was coming. Sir, Lieutenant Kelly asked, what exactly are we preparing for? Jake looked at his young officer. Kelly, how long have you been on this ship? 6 months, sir. And in all that time, did you ever wonder why our engines were so quiet? Why our weapons looked so basic but worked so well? Why our hull was made of simple steel but nothing could penetrate it? Kelly thought about it. I just assumed we had good engineers. We do, Jake smiled. But that's not the whole story. Dr. Carter began pressing buttons on her console. Kelly, what you've been seeing for the past 6 months is what we call the public face of human technology. The version we show to visitors and new crew members. The version that looks primitive, but still works. But sir, if we have better technology, why hide it? Because, Commander Hughes explained. 50 years ago, we learned that showing our full capabilities tends to either terrify other species or make them completely dependent on us. Neither option seemed good for galactic peace. So we've been pretending to be less advanced than we are? Kelly asked. Not pretending, Jake corrected. We really are less advanced than we could be. We've been deliberately limiting our development, using only basic versions of our technology. We wanted to grow naturally, not become galactic overlords, by accident. In the alien fleet, War Commander Kralvex was making his final preparations. All ships prepare to fire on my command. Target the largest human cities first. When they see their people burning, they will surrender quickly. Captain Zexthul made one last attempt to stop the attack. War Commander, please. I've seen their technology. Something isn't right about these humans. They know things they shouldn't know. Enough, Kralvex roared. They are a young species with a few lucky discoveries. They cannot stand against the might of the Confederation. He raised his hand to give the attack order. All ships, fire! 300 alien warships fired at once. Beams of energy that could melt mountains lanced down toward Earth. Each beam was powerful enough to destroy an entire city. Together, they carried enough energy to crack continents, but the beams never reached the planet. Instead, they struck something invisible in space above Earth and simply disappeared. Not reflected, not absorbed, but gone, as if they had never existed at all. In the silence that followed, Dr. Carter's voice came over the communication channel to the alien fleet. War Commander Kralvex, you just fired on a protected world. Earth has been under the protection of a planetary defense system for the past 50 years. Your attack has been neutralized. Impossible, Kralvex screamed. Nothing can stop that. Much firepower. Actually, Dr. Peterson's voice added, stopping your weapons was the easy part. They're really not very advanced once you understand the underlying physics. What are you? Captain Zexthul whispered over the channel. Jake Morrison looked directly into the communication screen. We're humans, Captain, and I think it's time you saw what that really means. On the Unity's bridge, lights began to appear on consoles that had been dark for months. Systems that had been dormant started to hum with power. The ship itself began to change, as if it was waking up from a long sleep. War Commander Kralvex stared at his instruments in disbelief. His most powerful weapons had simply vanished when they hit Earth's atmosphere. Not blocked, not deflected, but gone completely as if they had never existed. Science officer, he barked, explain what just happened. The alien at the science station worked frantically at his controls. Sir, I cannot explain it. Our weapons fired correctly, but when they reached the planet, they just disappeared. There are no energy signatures, no defensive systems visible on our sensors. That's because you're looking with the wrong kind of sensors. Dr. Lisa Carter's voice came through their communication system. The defense grid operates on principles your technology can't detect. On the Unity, Admiral Jake Morrison watched as his ship completed its transformation. The rough metal hull had been replaced by something that looked like liquid starlight. The basic control panels now showed displays of incredible complexity. The simple engines now hummed with power that made the alien ships look like children's toys. All systems online, reported Lieutenant Dan Kelly, who was staring at his new instruments in amazement. Sir, these readings. We're showing energy output levels that should be impossible. Not impossible, Jake replied. Just hidden until now. Dr. Sam Rodriguez worked at what had appeared to be a simple science station, but was now revealed as a control center for technologies beyond alien understanding. Admiral, the planetary defense grid is operating at 2% power, more than enough to handle their weapons. 2%? Lieutenant Kelly whispered. The grid was designed to protect Earth from much more serious threats than this, Doctor. Amy Peterson's voice came from the planet below. Asteroid impacts, solar flares, hostile dimensional intrusions, a few alien laser beams barely register. War Commander Kralvex tried to regain control of the situation. Enough games. Whatever trick you used to stop our first attack won't work twice. All ships, charge maximum power and fire again. I wouldn't do that, Commander Ben Hughes warned. You cannot stop us, Kralvex roared. Actually, we can, Jake said calmly. But we'd prefer not to embarrass you further. The alien fleet fired again. This time they used their most powerful weapons, beams that could slice through moons. Every ship fired at once, creating a wall of destructive energy racing toward Earth. The result was the same. The moment the weapons entered Earth's space, they simply ceased to exist. But this time something else happened. The alien ships suddenly found themselves unable to move. Their engines were still running. Their power systems were still active, but they hung motionless in space as if frozen in invisible ice. What have you done to our ships? Captain Zexthul demanded over the communication channel. We've temporarily disabled your movement systems, Dr. Carter explained. Don't worry, it's completely harmless. We just need you to stop shooting at our planet. How? Science Officer Quektal asked from the Harmony's edge. Our engines show full power, but we cannot move. Localized space-time manipulation, Dr. Rodriguez answered casually. We've created a small bubble of altered physics around each of your ships. Inside the bubble, the laws of motion work differently. The aliens fell silent. Even their most advanced scientists had only theorized about manipulating spacetime. These humans spoke of it like it was a simple tool. "This is impossible," War Commander Kralvex whispered. "No," Jake corrected. "This is what happens when you attack a world protected by technology you don't understand." Suddenly, something appeared, in space near the alien fleet. It had not been there a moment before, and their sensors had not detected its approach. The ship that materialized was small compared to the alien vessels, maybe the size of a fighter craft. But when it appeared, every alien sensor system in the fleet overloaded and shut down. "This is Commander Alex Turner aboard the Endeavour," came a new human voice. "Sorry I'm late to the party." Lieutenant Sarah Brooks, the ship's operations officer, spoke next. "We've been monitoring the situation from our patrol route in the Andromeda Galaxy. We came as soon as we heard there was trouble." "Andromeda Galaxy?" Captain Zexthol's voice cracked. "That's impossible. Andromeda is millions of light years away. 2.5 million to be exact," Sarah confirmed. "It's about a 15-minute trip with our current drive system." The aliens stared at the small human ship that claimed to have just traveled between galaxies in minutes. Their own fastest ships would take thousands of years to make such a journey. "What TU are you?" War Commander Kralvex asked, his voice barely a whisper. Dr. Carter appeared on the main communication screen. Behind her they could see displays showing star maps that covered not just their galaxy, but dozens of others. "We're humans, Commander. I thought we made that clear." "But your technology," Quektal stammered. "It's beyond anything we dreamed possible." "Not really," Dr. Peterson's voice added. "This is pretty basic stuff for us. We developed most of these systems decades ago." Admiral Morrison leaned forward in his command chair. "Commander Kralvex, let me explain something to you. 50 years ago, when we first achieved faster-than-light travel, we made a discovery. We realized that our technology was advancing so quickly that we could easily become the dominant force in the galaxy within a few years." "So?" Kralvex asked. "So we decided that wouldn't be good for anyone," Jake continued. "We deliberately slowed down our development. We built simpler versions of our technology. We pretended to be less advanced than we really were." "Why?" Captain Zexthol asked. "Because," Commander Hughes answered, "we wanted other species to develop. Naturally. We didn't want to become galactic overlords by accident. We wanted to explore and learn, not conquer and rule." Dr. Rodriguez brought up displays showing the alien fleet's weapons and defenses. "Your most advanced systems are based on principles we mastered when we were first learning to build starships. What you call planet-cracking weapons, we call basic mining tools. Your shields that you're so proud of," Dr. Peterson added. "We could break them by sending a strongly worded email in their general direction." War Commander Kralvex looked at the readings from his science station. His most powerful fleet, the pride of the Confederation military, was being held motionless by technology that treated them like children's toys. "If you're so advanced," he asked, "why didn't you just destroy us when we attacked?" "Because we don't want to destroy you," Jake replied. "We never wanted to hurt anyone. We just wanted to be left alone to develop at our own pace." "But you could destroy us," Zexthol said. "Easily." "Yes," Lisa admitted. "We could probably dismantle your entire fleet without breaking a sweat, but that would be cruel and unnecessary." Commander Turner's voice came from the Endeavour. "Actually, Admiral, I should mention that we detected 17 more Confederation fleets heading this way. They'll arrive in about 6 hours." 17 fleets? Kralvex gasped. "The entire Confederation Navy is coming here?" "Apparently your reports about dangerous humans got their attention," Turner replied. "They're bringing everything they have." The aliens looked terrified. If this small human force could neutralize their most powerful fleet so easily, what would happen when the full might of human technology was revealed? "Don't worry," Dr. Carter said gently. "We're not going to hurt them, either. But I think it's time we had a serious conversation about the future." Jake stood up from his command chair. Dr. Peterson, please activate the demonstration protocol. Acknowledged, Amy's voice came from Earth. Beginning full capability demonstration now. Around Earth, things began to change. Satellites that had looked like simple communication devices revealed themselves as massive defense platforms. Space stations that had appeared to be research facilities opened up to show weapons that dwarfed anything in the alien fleet. But most impressive of all, ships began to appear, hundreds of them, then thousands. They materialized out of nowhere as if they had been invisible until this moment. Each one was larger and more advanced than anything the aliens had ever seen. Where did they come from? Quektal whispered. They were always there, Dr. Rodriguez explained. We have defense fleets stationed throughout the solar system. You just couldn't see them because they exist in a slightly different phase of reality. Different phase of reality? Captain Zexthul repeated numbly. Dimensional shifting, Sarah Brooks clarified from the Endeavor. Basic stealth technology. We park our ships in parallel dimensions and phase them back into normal space when we need them. War Commander Kralvex looked at the thousands of human ships now surrounding his fleet. Each one was clearly more advanced than his most powerful vessel. His entire navy would be outnumbered 100 to 1. This is what 1% of your power looks like? He asked weakly. Actually, Jake corrected, this is more like 3%. We wanted to make sure you understood the situation clearly. The war commander stared at the displays showing human ships that seemed to bend the laws of physics just by existing. What do you want from us? Nothing, Jake replied. We never wanted anything from you, we just wanted you to leave us alone. But now that you know the truth, Dr. Carter added, we need to figure out what comes next. Captain Zexthul's voice was very quiet when he spoke. The Confederation will never believe this. They'll think we're lying or that we've been brainwashed. 6 hours later, the space around Earth looked like the largest military gathering in galactic history. 17 Confederation fleets had arrived as promised, bringing over 5,000 warships from across their territory. They came ready for the greatest battle their civilization had ever fought. Instead, they found their most powerful fleet hanging motionless in space, surrounded by human ships that seemed to ignore the basic laws of physics. Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the main conference room aboard the Unity. The room had expanded somehow, now large enough to hold representatives from all 18 alien fleets. Captain Zexthul sat at a curved table that had not existed an hour ago. War Commander Kralvex sat beside him, staring at displays that showed human technology he could not begin to understand. Supreme Commander Thekvar, Jake said, addressing the leader of the Confederation forces, thank you for coming. The Supreme Commander was the largest alien any of the humans had seen. His body was covered in thick armor that seemed to be part of his skin. When he spoke, his voice rumbled like distant thunder. We came to rescue our forces from a dangerous species, Thekvar said slowly. Instead, we find them unharmed and speaking of technologies that sound like fantasy. Dr. Lisa Carter activated a holographic display in the center of the room. It showed a map of their galaxy, with thousands of points of light scattered across it. Supreme Commander, each of these lights represents a developing civilization, she explained. Some are just discovering fire. Others are beginning to explore space. A few are at the level where your species was 1,000 years ago. What does this have to do with us? Thekvar asked. For the past 50 years, Dr. Amy Peterson's voice came through the communication system from Earth. We've been watching over all of them, quietly, secretly, making sure they develop naturally without interference. The aliens looked confused. Captain Zexthul leaned forward. What kind of interference? Commander Ben Hughes pressed a button and the display changed. Now it showed massive objects moving between the stars, things that dwarfed even the largest Confederation ships. Cosmic threats, Hughes explained. Rogue black holes, stellar parasites, dimensional predators, galaxy-eating machines left over from ancient wars. The universe is full of things that can destroy entire civilizations. We've never seen such threats, War Commander Kralvex protested. Because we stopped them before they reached you. Dr. Sam Rodriguez said from his station. Every single one of your member species has been protected by human technology without knowing it. The display changed again, showing battle scenes that looked like something from a nightmare. Huge mechanical creatures fought against human ships among exploding stars. Reality itself seemed to bend and twist as weapons that could destroy solar systems fired back and forth. This is what we've been doing while you thought we were primitive, Admiral Morrison explained. Fighting wars against threats so dangerous that most species would go extinct just from learning they exist. Supreme Commander Thekvar studied the images with growing horror. These battles, they happened in our territory. Some of them, Commander Alex Turner confirmed from the Endeavor. Last month, we destroyed a reality virus that was spreading through the Vega sector. 2 weeks ago, we stopped a time predator that was hunting civilizations by erasing them from history. You've been protecting us, Captain Zexthul said quietly. All this time, you've been protecting us. That's what we do, Dr. Carter replied. It's what humans have always done. We explore, we learn, and we help others when we can. The Supreme Commander was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was much softer than before. Why didn't you tell us? Because you weren't ready, Jake answered honestly. Most species go through several stages of development. First, they explore their local area. Then they try to build empires. Finally, if they survive long enough, they learn to work together and help others. The Confederation is still in the empire-building stage, Dr. Peterson added. You're focused on expanding your territory and bringing other species under your control. That's normal, but it means you're not ready to know about the real dangers out there. What real dangers? Thekvar demanded. The holographic display changed one more time. Now it showed things that made the previous images look peaceful. Creatures of pure darkness that consumed light itself. Entities that existed in multiple dimensions at once. Machines that could rewrite the laws of physics. The things that destroyed the first galactic civilization, Hughes said grimly. And the second one, and the third one. This is actually the fourth attempt at building a galactic community. We're determined to make sure it succeeds. The silence in the room was complete. Every alien stared at the display with expressions of terror and disbelief. How many of these threats are out there? Zexthul whispered. Thousands, Turner replied. Maybe millions. The universe is old, and not everything in it is friendly. But you can stop them, Kralvex said. It was not quite a question. So far, Dr. Carter confirmed, though it gets harder each year. The threats are getting stronger and there are more of them. Supreme Commander Thekvar looked directly at Admiral Morrison. What do you want from us? Jake leaned back in his chair. Nothing really. We'd prefer to keep doing what we've been doing, protecting everyone quietly while they develop naturally. But, Dr. Rodriguez added, now that you know the truth, that becomes more complicated. How so? The Supreme Commander asked. Because knowledge changes things, Amy Peterson explained from Earth. Once you know about the real threats out there, you can't just ignore them. You have to decide how to respond. Commander Hughes activated another display. We're offering you a choice, Supreme Commander. You can go back to the way things were, pretending we don't exist while we continue protecting you in secret. Or you can join us as partners in protecting the galaxy. Partners? Thekvar repeated the word like he'd never heard it before. Equal partners, Jake clarified. Not subjects, not vassals, but allies working toward the same goal. But we're nowhere near your level of technology, Captain Zexthul protested. What could we possibly offer? More than you might think, Dr. Carter smiled. Different species approach problems in different ways. You might see solutions that we miss. Besides, this job is getting too big for just humans to handle. War Commander Kralvex looked at the displays showing cosmic horrors and human ships fighting impossible battles. If we became your partners, what would that mean? It would mean the Confederation becomes something new, Hughes explained. Instead of conquering and controlling other species, you'd help protect them. Instead of building an empire, you'd help build a community. And in return? The Supreme Commander asked. In return, we share our technology, Jake said. Slowly, carefully, at a pace your civilizations can handle. And we work together to make sure this galaxy survives whatever comes next." The aliens looked at each other, having silent conversations with expressions and gestures. Finally, Supreme Commander Thekvar spoke. "You could have destroyed us all easily. Instead, you offer us partnership." "Why?" "Because," Admiral Morrison said simply, "that's what good neighbors do. They help each other." Dr. Peterson's voice came through the communication system one more time. "Also, frankly, we're tired of hiding. It's been 50 years of pretending to be less than we are. We'd like to be honest for a change." Captain Zexthul looked around the room at his fellow commanders. "Supreme Commander, I've seen their technology. I've spoken with their scientists. They're not lying about any of this." "I know," Thekvar replied quietly. "The question is, are we ready to become something better than what we are?" The discussion continued for hours. The aliens asked hundreds of questions about human technology, about the threats they'd been fighting, about what partnership would really mean. The humans answered everything honestly, holding nothing back. Finally, as the local star began to set behind Earth, Supreme Commander Thekvar stood up. "The Confederation accepts your offer of partnership," he announced. "But we want to understand one thing. You said this display of power represents 3% of your capabilities. What would 100% look like?" Dr. Carter and Admiral Morrison exchanged glances. Jake smiled. "Supreme Commander, we honestly don't know. We've never needed to find out, and we hope we never do." "Why not?" "Because," Dr. Rodriguez said from his station, 100% of human power would probably be enough to remake the entire universe, and we're not sure we're wise enough for that kind of responsibility yet." The alien stared at him in silence. "Yet?" Captain Zexthul asked weakly. "We're still learning," Jake replied. "Still growing. Still figuring out how to use what we have, responsibly. That's another reason we want partners, to help us stay on the right path." Supreme Commander Thekvar looked out the window at Earth, where billions of humans lived their daily lives, most of them unaware that their species had just become the open guardians of the galaxy. "I think," he said slowly, "this is going to be very interesting." Outside, human ships began dropping their disguises throughout the galaxy. Space stations revealed their true purposes. Defense platforms came online. And across thousands of star systems, other species looked up at their skies to see protectors they never knew existed, finally stepping into the light.